Hallelujah.
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 All praise to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for surely his mercy endure forever. All praise to the Most High, who made it through another week in his captivity. And we're getting even closer to the feast of Hanukkah. Hallelujah for that.
Hallelujah.
All praise to the Most High. So for this whole month, we've been going into the feast of Hanukkah, the feast of dedication. We've been touching the book of Maccabees, touching every aspect leading up to the dedication of the Holy Temple. Because during this period of time, when the Greeks had our temple in their hands, guess what? Our temple was defiled. Our temple became the Christian church. Our temple was filled with prostitutes and drunkards and whores. But because of the power of the Most High, Yahweh Shema Sekawashai, because of the Most High, Yahweh Shema Sekawashai, raising righteous men like Jonathan, Judas Maccabees, Simon, Eleazar, and John, and Mattathias, and every brother and soul that they joined under these men that was willing to die and sacrifice their lives so that we get our temple back. So we praise the Most High and we praise these righteous men that stood up for our people. Right? Give me Colossians chapter 3, verse 17.
Colossians chapter 3, verse 17.
Uh-huh.
And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of Amashak Yahushua, giving thanks to power and the Abba by him.
Read it one more time.
And whatsoever ye do in word or deed,
That's right.
do all in the name of Amashak Yahushua, giving thanks to power and the Abba by him.
So we have to give all praises. So whatsoever we do, we have to give all praise to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob through his son, Amashak Yahushai, who the world so ignorant calls Jesus Christ. Right? So give me first Maccabees. Let's get straight into this. If you also, what you can do, no. Put that down for you. Put the YouTube up here so we can see the YouTube. Just open up another page. Yeah. What we also will be doing, we're going to have the phone lines open near the end of the class. I wanted it to be open before the class, but we was running a little behind. So at the end of the class, we're going to be having the phone lines open about 15, maybe 20 minutes for any brothers or sisters that have any questions. I know yesterday when I was doing the class, Wednesday when I was doing the Wednesday Wisdom class with Captain Shamshawan, there was a couple of brothers and sisters that was asking questions about Maccabees. So if you still have those questions, ask us today. Come on. So go to first Maccabees chapter 4.
First Maccabees chapter 4.
Uh-huh. Well, actually, there was a brother that asked us about a situation that happened in Maccabees. It took place in Maccabees chapter 7, verse 1. 2 Maccabees chapter 7, verse 1. And I actually would like to go into that a little bit. Go ahead and go into that. 2 Maccabees chapter 7, verse 1. Right before we go into the dedication of our temple.
First Maccabees chapter 7, verse 1.
Mm-hmm. Second.
Because
there was a question a brother had about 2 Maccabees chapter 7 verse 1. And around 2 Maccabees, that chapter was going on the same period of time with Judas when he was banding up men to fight against the Grecians. So I wanted to show the importance of why this was so important for Judas to do this, why they risked their lives to do this. Because these type of things, when they establish that all men should be like we all should be together, we all should be the same, that's just really them wanting us to be like the Greeks. All of us should just be like the Caucasians. Filthy, disgusting, liars, and homosexuals. Right? And one aspect of these things that was happening was in 2 Maccabees chapter 7, verse 1. Go ahead and read it.
2 Maccabees chapter 7, verse 1.
This is what Judas was fighting to stop, to put an end to. Read it.
It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken.
What happened?
That 7 brethren with their mother were taken.
Is your mic low? All right, I need you to read it a little louder. Go ahead.
That 7 brethren with their mother were taken.
Uh-huh.
And compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh.
Uh-huh.
And were tormented with scourges and whips.
So this is one aspect of what Judas was fighting for. Because when they wanted us to be all together and be the same, They were willing to kill us to do simple things as what? Eat swines. Are they killing us to eat swine now? No, they're not. Because Negroes eat swine. Nobody has to force them to do anything. We eat swine. But so it's so interesting to the fact that the same way these men, Judas, Maccabees, they were fighting so that our people what? So this institution would no longer be over our land, be over our people. We have to fight so we can get that institution out of the minds of our people today. Right? Read on.
But one of them that spake first said thus.
So one of the young men that's being tortured by these Greeks, what do you say?
What wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die, rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers.
That's right. Read on.
Then the king begin in a rage, being in a rage, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot. Which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first, and to cut off the uttermost parts of his body, the rest of his brethren and his mother looking on.
Right. So this goes back to a point we were bringing out on Wednesday when I was with Captain Shamshwan, that one of the small aspects about the Feast of Dedication, one of the smallest things that go over brothers' heads. What happened? This one right here. One of the small aspects about the Feast of Dedication that go over brothers' heads is that we must honor these brothers and sisters, these so-called Black and Hispanic brothers and sisters that are teaching our people to keep these commandments, teaching our children to keep these commandments. Because when Mattathias did it for his son, guess what? Even though he died and he was no longer on the earth, his spirit with the Most High, guess what? Judas followed in his steps. Judas was a thorn in the side of his enemies because he kept the law, statute, and commandments. He didn't look at our people like they were nothing, like we do today, right? So we must honor our brothers and sisters that have these children and that are suffering these dangers, which is today. Having homosexual teachers teaching children about being gender fluid. All these teachers teaching our young children in kindergarten about H is for homosexual, G is for gay, L is for lesbian. This is what's going on in the schools right now. It wasn't that long ago when I was in high school and they had homosexual clubs for this. Homosexual clubs for transgenders and all types of gays and lesbians. So you have to imagine what's going on with these brothers and sisters who have children who are in kindergarten, middle school, elementary. What's going on in those schools? So we have to put respect in these brothers and sisters who have children, and they're trying to teach them as the best they can. Because those children are going to grow. As you get old and you die, those children are going to have to replace us. Right? Read on.
Good. Now, when he was thus maimed in all his members, he commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire, and to be fried in the pan. As the vapor of the pan was for a good space dispersed, they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully, saying thus.
What verse are you at?
The Lord God.
What verse are you at?
I'm at 6 right now.
All right, come on.
The Lord God looketh upon us, and in truth hath comfort in us, as Moses in his song, which witnessed to their faces, declaring, saying, and he shall be comforted in his servants. So when the first was dead, after this number, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head.
What happened?
And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, they asked him.
This is happening to Black and Hispanics. This wasn't a random assortment of people and they've just been put into a room and the Greeks are doing this. This is happening to one family. This is happening to children, to a mother. She's watching her children get their skin cut off their bodies, being put into a damn boiling pot of oil. You think you're going to be put into a boiling pot of oil, you're just going to sit there and then you'll die? You're going to scream. You're going to scream and you're going to call out to your mother. And she's sitting there with no power to do anything. This is the situation that's going on during the time of Judas. Because the chapter right after this, Judas goes to the hometown of his people and he raises up 6,000 men to go fight these heathens. This is the same thing that's going on right there in 1 Maccabees. Read on.
So when the first was dead after this number, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin...
Your mic is low? No, he knows what I mean. Your mic is low, right? Go ahead.
So when the first was dead after this number, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, they asked him, "Wilt thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body?" But he answered in his own language and
in his
said,
what?
But he answered in his own language and said, "No." Wherefore he also received the next torment in order as the former did.
Read verse 8 one more time.
But he answered in his own language.
What was his own language? So read it one more time.
But he answered in his own language and said, "La-ah."
What did he say?
La-ah.
Read on.
Wherefore he also received the next torment in order as the former did. When he was at the last gasp, he said, "Thou like a fury takest us out of this present life, but the king of this world shall raise us up."
So even though these men were going through all these torturements, all these tortures and all these torments, they all understood something, that all these punishments that we're going through, the Most High is not going to forget us. The Most High is not going to forget any of these. The majority of the torments that we're going through is because of our own whoredoms against the Most High, our idolatry, our paganism, our abominations that we were committing against them. But they never forgot, and the Most High is not going to forget this. That's why. They kept it in the forefront of their minds. Read on.
Audio. After him was a third made a mocking stock. And when he was required,
check with your phone.
He put out his tongue, and that right soon, holding forth his hands manfully, and said courageously, "These I had from heaven, and for his laws I despise them, and from him I hope to receive them again." Insomuch that the king and they that were with him marveled at the young man's courage, for that he nothing regarded the pains. Now, when this man was dead also, they tormented and mangled the fourth in like manner. So, when he was ready to die, he said thus, "It is good, being put to death by men, to look for hope from God, to be raised up again by him. As for thee, thou shalt have no resurrection to life." Afterward, they brought the fifth also and mangled him. Then looked he unto the king and said, "Thou hast power over men. Thou art corruptible. Thou doest what thou wilt. Yet think not that our nation is forsaken of God."
So we know the Most High. The Most High didn't forsake us, because in this same period of time, He's raising up men so that he could defend the children of Israel. Because in short times, the Most High will be angry with us, and it seems like the Most High had forgotten us, but He didn't. Because guess what? Our people still need to be punished. Here, go back to let's go to 1 Maccabees.
First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 1. Then took Gorgias.
No, not verse 1. Verse 37.
37. Upon this all, the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Zion.
So after all these battles, all these fights, all the torments and atrocities that was happening, that's the reason why we went to Second Maccabees. That was happening during the same time when Judas was first setting up his soldiers and his troops to fight against the Greeks, right? So after all of this, they finally gained enough force to go up to Zion, because this whole time they weren't there, right? Read on.
And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest, or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priest's chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes.
What did they do?
They rent their clothes.
They rent their clothes. Read on.
And made great lamentation. And cast ashes upon their heads.
Right. So this is something that's common in Israel. We still do this today. As a Levite, as a so-called Haitian, I remember seeing Haitians do this at funerals. I remember years ago when my grandmother passed away. My family took her body to bring it to Haiti to bury. And when they did that, I remember my cousin showing me videos and films throughout the whole situation of them burying her. And I remember seeing in the film, all my cousins, they all had dust and dirt on their clothes, and they were following the people that was carrying the body to bury in. And when they buried the body, the people was all surrounded around the hole where they put the body down into. And they were all kneeling down, crying, throwing dust into the earth, throwing dust at the casket, throwing dust into the air, putting on their heads and everything, because this was our family member. You know what I mean? So seeing this in the scriptures, this still happens today, right? Because it doesn't even have to come to that point. The reason why we do this is because we're a very passionate people, right? This is the reason why something happens to your cousin, you're the first one to get up to go do what? Handle that situation, right? Because we're a very passionate people. But the whole point about Hanukkah is that we take that passion and we direct it in the right path. It's because, guess what? The same passion that Judas Maccabeus had to go dedicate the temple back to the children of Israel and back to the Lord, that's the same passion that drug dealers have all the time. When they see someone else selling drugs in their block, when they see someone else coming in their neighborhood, when they see someone else coming and causing problems and robbing their neighborhood, guess what? They're ready to take that stick and they're ready to go handle their business. That's passion. But they don't know where to direct that passion to. Should they be directing their passion toward holding down a damn block? Representing a damn zip code? That's where they should be putting their passion to? There's nothing wrong with that. Right? There's nothing wrong with having passion to want to hold down where your people are living and not the heathen. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But the problem is they don't know where to direct that passion to. This is the reason why we have to go into camps. You know what I mean? I don't have to explain here in the L.O.Z how many times we go out in the trenches down here in Fort Lauderdale, where we see young women at 14, 15 years old selling their body. Young men selling drugs on the street like they playing sports, right? I don't have to explain that. But this is the reason why it's so adamant that we respect these brothers, Judas Maccabeus. Because they showed us an example where you put your passion toward. You don't put your passion towards something carnal. You put that passion towards something that's going to help the nation. You put that passion toward the Most High. And we still do this today. Right? Read on.
God. They rent their clothes and made great lamentation and cast ashes upon their heads and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces and blew an alarm with the trumpets.
What did they do?
And blew an alarm with the trumpets.
Now, who remembers that when we went over that, I think, last week? I'm pretty sure we went over that last week, and we were showing the difference in the law. Because the law said when you go to war, you're supposed to blow the trumpet. Con? We're in 1 Maccabees chapter 4. Chapter 4, verse 40. What?
Blow the alarm for the fast. Was that in Nehemiah or?
Hold on 1 second. I got a precept. Read that verse one more time. Read the two verses ahead of it, above it.
And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces. And, two verses up?
Yeah.
First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 38. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and the shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest, or in one of the mountains, yea, the priests' chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes, and made great lamentation, and cast ashes upon their heads, and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law.
There you go. It's Numbers 10 and 8. Numbers chapter 10, verse 8. You can start from verse 7. There's a very specific reason why they're blowing the alarm at this point. Read on.
Numbers chapter 10, verse 8.
Uh-huh.
And the sons of Aharon, the priests, shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generations.
Uh-huh.
And if ye go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, then ye shall blow with an alarm with the trumpets, and ye shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemies.
So when you begin the first chapter, when you begin chapter 10, verse 2, it talks about how we make two trumpets. We make two trumpets, and there's a specific reason why we blow these trumpets. One is for war, and one is for war or danger, and the second one is for what? Who got the answer? The second one is for what? Am I speaking to myself? Who? What? What else? I want something specific. We use one. We make these two trumpets according to the law. One trumpet is used to go to war and for danger. The second trumpet is for what? That's more in the lines of danger and war. Not you. You up here. Who else? Every single officer that comes up here, they already know the answer. That's why I got them sitting up here. Huh? Closer. Specific word. We do it here at the Liaison. There you go. Give the brother a hand. That's the reason why. Give me Numbers chapter 10, verse
4.
No, verse 7.
Verse 7.
Uh-huh.
But when the congregation is to be gathered together, ye shall blow, but ye shall not sound an alarm.
Read it one more time.
But when the congregation is to be gathered together, ye shall blow, but ye shall not sound an alarm.
Okay, now, alarm. To make the alarm, you need the trumpet, right? So, there's a difference in the sound that the trumpet's making that makes it an alarm, and you're just blowing it. You understand? Blow the shofar for me. Okay. That's it being blown for brothers to come to congregate, right? Now, blow the trumpet in the way as in warning. That's good, Ag. That's an alarm. That's to be used for danger. You hear that? You know there's some Edomites about to come over that hill to come kill your children. That's what's going to happen. So when they saw the temple, they blew that. That doesn't mean go get the wine bottles. We're about to go drink and sit down. That means there's danger. That means we're in a situation. That's what was going on during First Maccabees. Go First Maccabees chapter 4.
First chapter 4. Verse 40.
Yeah.
And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces and blew an alarm
They blew that. Read on.
With the trumpets and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress.
In the what?
In the fortress.
In the fortress. So what was the fortress? When you read First Maccabees chapter 1, it talks about what? They established the law that everyone should be as themselves. Everyone should be as one people. Then they came into Jerusalem. Then they burned our cities. Then they killed our people. And then they took control of the city of David. Let's actually just get it. They took control of the city of David, and then they fortified it. Right? First Maccabees.
First Maccabees.
Chapter 1. Where is this? Let me see.
You want 1?
No, not 1 and 1.
1 and 1.
No, not 1 and 1. There you go. Start from 30, 31.
1 and 30?
No, you can start from 28.
1 and 28. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 28. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion.
So, as they're coming in and out into Jerusalem, they're coming in and out of Israel, terrorizing our people, killing our people. Those who weren't following the king's commandment, they're killing them, taking control of their inheritance. People are being moved around. Everyone's just losing everyone's losing their basically their landmarks, the things that's been passed down to their family. Right? Read on. That's why it says that everyone's under confusion. You got You got Judites living in the territory of Benjamin. You got Levites saying that we have land in Benjamin. You got all types of crazy things. Right?
And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them.
And you already know our oppressor, man. Our oppressor never has peaceful words. That's why Gad said he speaks with a fourth tongue, right? One to speak peaceful words, and the other one to lie to you.
Smooth as butter.
Right. Read on.
And spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses of the walls thereof on every side. But the women and the children took they captive, and possessed the cattle. And then they builded the city of David with a great and strong wall.
With what?
With a great and strong wall. And with mighty towers. And made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein.
What do they do?
And fortified themselves therein.
So when you read First Maccabees chapter 4, it's talking about they sent them up into the fort to kill these people. That's what it's talking about. Talking about them claiming back the city of David, because the city of David was turned into somewhat of a fort for a militia of Greeks, to be able to come in and out of Israel, killing our people, taxing our people, burning cities down, raping our women, doing this, all of that, so they don't have to come in and out of the country. They're in the country, right? So back to chapter 4.
First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 41. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary.
So now you know what the fortress is. When he finally came up to Mount Zion, that's what he went to. From Mount Zion and sent them down into the city of David. Right? Read on.
So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them.
Read verse 44 one more time.
And when they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, they
So
started.
they're sitting there. They finally got back in the temple. The water, I appreciate it. They get back into the temple and they're seeing the altar of the Lord, and they know it's been defiled, right? So they're sitting there thinking to themselves, what should we do with the altar? Now, I have a question. Why are they considering themselves what they should do with the altar? Why? You're going to blow my mind if you got this one. You're going to blow my mind. Why are they considering this? Why are they talking with each other? It's defiled. It's profane. They know that. We see it in 2 Maccabees chapter 6, what they were doing in our temple. They turned it into a Christian church. They had prostitutes in our church. They had male whores in our church. They were drinking wine, sacrificing swine, eating pork, defiled things in our temple. So why are they considering with themselves, what should we do with the stones for the altar? Why are they talking about it? Go ahead. If you answer, I need camp voice. Go ahead. I need camp voice. A little louder. A little louder. I like the answer, but you know what? I'm going to tell you this. No. There's a reason why they're talking to themselves. They already know it's defiled and profaned. Remember that? Remember in Matthias? They told him to eat that swine, to sacrifice the swine. And then what happened? When he said no, someone was running up them steps to go sacrifice the swine. Matthias had to put the stabs on him. Right? So he already knows swine was being defiled there. So the question is not why they should, not if they're going to do it. They already know they're going to do it. But should they do it? That's what they're questioning themselves. Now, I want someone else to answer. Captain Zamar. Read that verse one more time. Captain Zamar, I already know it. The Most High is with you. You got this answer. Go ahead.
All right. 41.
44.
44.
Uh-huh.
And when they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane.
So they're consulting with each other. What should they do with the stones to the altar? Because that's how we build the altar. We took the stones, we built it up, right? Why are they consulting each other about it? Because they already know it's profane. But why, though? Why are they consulting? Hold on. Go ahead, Cap. That's a good answer. But something else. Go ahead. One last answer. Go ahead. That's good. But you know what? I'm going to tell you. Remember what he said? Remember what he said in verse 42? Read verse 42 one more time.
Verse 42.
Uh-huh.
So he chose priests of blameless conversation.
So these guys who are speaking about this, they are priests. They're priests. So the reason why they're consulting about this is because this altar has been sitting there since Ezra and Nehemiah. It's been sitting there for hundreds of years. This is not something new and just bought and took off the tag. This is something historical that we had for so long. And then now we have to really think about it. Even though we know it's been profaned. But that wasn't there. Ezra and Nehemiah risked their lives to make sure we had this. Because remember before that, the Babylonians destroyed our first temple. Ezra and Nehemiah, it took years for them to finally build that second temple. So that altar sitting there has been there for hundreds of years. So they're thinking to themselves, damn, I know it's been profaned, but should we really get rid of this? This is something historical. This is a landmark right here. So this is the reason why in verse 45, read it again. Read.
Verse 45.
Uh-huh.
They thought it best to pull it down.
What did it say?
They thought it best to pull it down.
Even though all conclusions, the best situation for us to do is to pull this thing down. We love this altar. We've used this altar. We're growing up seeing this altar. But we have to pull this thing down. Read on.
Lest it should be a reproach to them.
If we leave this thing here, we know it's defiled. We're not going to leave it here and just say we're not going to touch it. We're going to leave it here, and if we don't touch it, our children will. Our children are going to sacrifice animals on here. Because this thing has been unclean now. You can't sacrifice swine on the altar of the Lord. The animals you can sacrifice, it's already mentioned in the law. So this thing is completely out of order. So they can't even just leave it there. They have to get rid of it. Go ahead, Cap. Get it. All praise the Most High. Get that.
Isaiah 52, verse 11.
After you get that, give me Sirach chapter 3, verse 24. Actually, who got a apocryphal? Whoever got a apocryphal, read Sirach chapter 3, verse 24. But read your scripture first. When you read it, I need camp voice.
Isaiah chapter 52, verse 11.
Uh-huh.
Depart ye. Go ye out from thence. Touch no unclean thing.
So this is something that's already in the minds of our people. This has to be at the fore. That's why they said the best solution was to get rid of it. Because who remembers what happened with Gideon? Gideon fought for our people. He fought so much, they wanted to make him king, right? And what he did was took the possessions that he won at war and he melted it. He melted the gold down, put the jewels in it, and made it a breastplate. And when he did that, after he died, guess what the children of Israel did? They started worshiping that breastplate and made it an idol. And guess what? That breastplate had to be destroyed. Right? Read. That's all in Isaiah? Okay, go ahead and read the Sirach. 3 and 24. What happened? So this is something that could have caught them. Because a lot of times today, a lot of us, we're deceived by our own opinion. Our own opinion tells us what? I want to stay home. Our own opinion says, I want to be my woman. My own opinion says, I want to enjoy my children. That's my own opinion. Because your own opinion is what? Your perspective. What you think is best for you. So I'm saying? But guess what? It's not about what's best for you. It's about what's best for the program. Because the program comes first. And that program is for our nation. That program is serving the Most High. Right? So their vain opinion was that we may leave this altar here. You know, we love this altar. My great-great-great-great-great-grandfather sacrificed on this altar. But guess what? The best solution is to get rid of it. Read on.
And an evil suspicion have overthrown their judgment.
Give me 2 Corinthians chapter 2.
2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 12.
The water cap.
Furthermore, when I came to Troas to preach Christ's gospel, and a door.
2 Corinthians 2 and 12, or is it 2 and 11?
That's 2 and 12.
What does 11 say?
Let's see.
Yep, that's it.
2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us. For we are not ignorant of his devices.
What are we not?
We are not ignorant of his devices.
And we are not ignorant of his devices. Because the reason why I have to bring this out is because, guess what? Satan understands your weaknesses. Satan understands what you want. And the things that you want is against the Most High. What you want is to be at home with your wife. What you want to be is not at the Shabbat. You want to be at your son's football game. That's what you want. But what the Most High wants from you is whatever he wants. What the Most High wants from you is to be at the Shabbat. Keep the law, statute, commandments. Whether your woman's going to be at home or not. Maybe you're gonna go to the Shabbat and she's gonna say, if you go to that damn school, you're not gonna see me when you come back. Well,
Man.
start packing. That's what it is, because the Most High comes first. Yahweh Shai comes first. Our people comes first. These laws come first. Right? Read that one more time. But Satan understands all of that.
Lest Satan should get an advantage of us.
Uh-huh.
For we are not ignorant of his devices.
So we're not ignorant of his devices. That's the same reason why during the same time with Yahweh Shai and Judas, him being crafty, being the son of perdition, he used what he knew about the other apostles so that they'll cause problems and argue against Yahweh Shai. That's the reason why my sister come into the room with the oil, and she had the oil, and she was gonna wash Yahweh Shai's feet with it. And Judith said, that oil, 500, I think it was 500 pence. We could have made money off that. That's 500 pence right there. And he's not saying that Yahweh Shai. No, he's like, psst, that 500 pence right there, man. We could have gave that to the poor. He don't want to give it to the poor. Judas was the one who kept the bag. He's the treasurer of the group. So he was like, 500 for the poor? 100 for the poor, but 400 for my pocket. Right? So Satan already know that. Your enemy already understand that. This is the reason why you can't do what you want. You have to do what the Most High wants from you. Right? Go back to the first Maccabees.
First Maccabees, chapter.
Now I have a favor for all the brothers and sisters on the chat. I have a favor that I'm asking of you. If you're on the live stream, stop the video right now. I don't care if it's it's on live. Stop the video and like this video. Don't put a dislike. If you're a heathen, we know who you are. Put a like on the video, comment below, and make sure to subscribe. So all praise to the Most High. At the end of the video, we'll make sure we give a shout out to all our other locations. Go subscribe to our other locations of D-Light Design, because we're trying to put this work in. We're trying to get our people back into order. Right? Read.
First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 44.
Uh-huh.
And when they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen hath defiled it. Had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down, and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a
Stop right
prophet.
there. Stop right there. Read 46 one more time.
And laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place.
This is exactly what Captain Zamar was just saying. How they're going to do this. This is the reason why I didn't want to take his answer. But that's true. That's exactly what they did. They did that with the stones, because guess what? This is something historical. This is something well established by the prophet Ezra and the prophet Nehemiah. So you can't just destroy it, even though it's profaned. So we have to take this holy thing that's unclean right now, and we have to put it in a convenient place. And then when a prophet get raised up from the Lord, we'll know what to do with it. But for right now, it has to be put into an unclean place, like you said before. Read on.
They took 46, and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place. And there, until there should come a prophet to shew what should be done with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick, and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table.
Okay, so when you read verse 47, it says, then they took the holy stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former. Verse 48, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple and hall of the courts. But verse 49 says, they made also new holy vessels. So now they made new holy vessels, right? For me to it's easier for me to get rid of this unclean little small cup right here that the priests have to drink out of. It's easier for me to get rid of this than to get rid of a whole altar that we use to burn sacrifices, calves, sheep, every day, all day, right? This is the reason why you see them getting rid of the old ones and putting new ones in. But the altar, they had to actually discuss about that. Read on.
50. And upon the altar they burnt incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lightened, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. 52. Now, on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made.
So this is something really worthy to celebrate, because during all these campaigns that Judas was making war, they weren't doing this. They haven't done this for a while. The last time we seen them stepping into the temple was with Mattathias, and Mattathias was being compelled to sacrifice swine. Right after he did that, he fled into the wilderness. So this is something worthy to celebrate. They had to fight their way to get back to this point. Because when Mattathias went into the wilderness, he became a wanted man. All the Greeks wanted him dead. That's why the other guy said, what? If I kill Judas, I'm going to raise up myself a great name. Because Judas was the wanted man. Him and his brethren. Right? Read on.
53. And offered a sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings, which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen hath profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and cisterns and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell on their faces, worshiping and praising God of heaven, praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise, and decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates of the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them.
This is something so powerful about Hanukkah. And this is something so special about you brothers. You brothers and sisters that's watching us on live, and the brothers sitting here in this room. What's so special about you and what's so supernatural about what you're doing is that while the whole world is eating that dry, disgusting turkey last Thursday, that disgusting Thanksgiving, celebrating a feast day where our people died and lost, on Sunday, you're going to be celebrating a feast day where you won. While our people and them celebrate a feast day where we were dying, while we were becoming slaves, while they're killing us, we're celebrating a feast day where we killed them. We're celebrating a feast day where we kicked them out of our land. We're celebrating a feast day where we did all this in the name of the Lord that they supposedly worship.
Hallelujah.
So this is so special about this. We had golden crowns in our temple because you know what? We're coming back to that position of royalty. We had golden shields in our temple because the Most High was the one who protected us. Right? Read on. "58. Thus there
there was very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
Right.
Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month of Caslu, with mirth and gladness.
Give a hand to the Most High. That's what we're going to be doing November 28th. That's what we're going to be doing this Sunday coming up. This thing that's coming out of these scriptures is coming alive. You know why? Because it's only for us. It's not for this whole world. It's only for us as so-called black and Hispanics. And here at The Light of Zion, we're keeping it all together. Man, woman, and child, we're keeping the Feast of Hanukkah. Right? Read on.
60. At that time also they builded up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about. Lest the Gentiles should
Let's what?
Lest the Gentiles.
Let's who?
Lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down, as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. Chapter 5.
Wait, read verse 60 one more time. 60.
60. At that time also they builded up Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. Okay.
So this is a law. This is something that has to be mentioned. Right? So read verse 60 one more time. Salaki.
At that time also they built up the Mount Zion with high walls.
With what?
High walls.
With high walls. Read on.
And strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before.
Because the thing that has been redeemed, the thing that has been dedicated to the Lord, now it has to be protected, right? Because now we can't just go back as if we didn't just kill a whole bunch of these heathens, as if their blood is just going to disappear, as if the heathens are going to leave us alone now. They're not going to come back to Israel and bother us. That's not what's going to happen. They're going to come back. But when they come back, blood will be shed and it will be theirs. Right? And that's the reason why high walls had to be built up in Zion. High walls in the city of David had to be fortified. Because these things that we fought to take, we have to protect it. Right? Read on.
Lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down, as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it.
What's the garrison? What else? What else? What else?
A guard.
Who else got an answer? Brother Lashwan? No, you good. Brother Lashwan? Garrison. Who knows what a garrison is? It's like a guard, but it's a militia, basically. It's like an army. It's a small army that's supposed to be stationed at a fort, right? So it's like 100, maybe it's a deployment of 100 men, 1,000 men, maybe 10,000 men, but it's a deployment of a large number of troopers, right? And that's where they were stationed at Zion. They're stationed at Zion just in case these guys want to come back. The reason why they're specifically at Zion, because the highest and the most holy place, one of the highest and holiest mountain in all Israel is Mount Zion, right? So that's why the heathens aimed for that first. That's why from all the cities first that they fortified, when the heathens came in, the city that they came for was what? The city of what? The city of who? Got to say it with camp voice. The city of David. Because David is a prominent ancestor in Israel. So if they take the city of David, that's going to what? That's going to weaken our
morale.
There you go. And if our morality is weakened, guess what? We're divided. Now everybody's establishing their own leader. Everyone's trying to decide, what should we do? Should we just obey the king's commandment? Should we be like Greece? Maybe we should go to Greece. Maybe we should eat pork. Maybe we should fight. Maybe we should do this. This is the reason why in 1 Maccabees chapter 1, you see Judas and his father and the people that followed them, they went into the wilderness. And then you see a whole other group, they go in the wilderness. Because Israel was divided. That's why. So give me the book of John. Give me the book of John. The audio is good, right? Or maybe it's just me. Maybe it's on their end. All right. Give me the book of Matthew. Not Matthew. I said John. Slakia. Yeah, John. Give me John chapter 10, verse. Yeah. John chapter 10, verse. You can start from 19.
John chapter 10, verse 19. There was division, therefore, again among the Jews for these sayings. And many of them said, He hath a devil, and is mad. Why hear ye him? Others said, These are not the words of him that hath a devil. Can a devil open the eyes of the blind?
So this is just the context. This is going during the time of Yahushai, right? Another aspect that we celebrate the Feast of Hanukkah is because guess what? And this is another way to explain that the book of the Apocrypha is in the Bible. Because we see a celebration that Yahushai kept during his life that we can't find in the law. We can't find it in the Tanakh, right? Read the next verse.
22. And it was at Jerusalem.
At where?
And it was at Jerusalem.
At Jerusalem.
The feast of the dedication.
The feast of what?
The feast of the dedication.
So where do we find the feast of dedication in the law? Where in the Torah? You can't find Khan. You can't find the feast of dedication. Dedication in Hebrew is Hanukkah. You can't find the feast of Hanukkah. That's why we say Hanukkah. You can't find the feast of Hanukkah in no Torah or no Tanakh. Because it didn't happen then. It happened during the time of Maccabees, right? So a lot of these guys will tell you, oh, that's Jewish people things. That's Talmud. That's Mishnah. That's Kabbalah. No, it's not. It's right there in the Bible, but it's in the Apocrypha though. It's another good way to cut a Christian if they're telling you, oh, the Apocrypha is not inspired. Then you're gonna have to show me where Christ was keeping the dedication and where did the feast of dedication come from? Where did this thing come from? Right. So in a few minutes, we're going to be opening up the phone lines for brothers and sisters that have any questions dealing with the topic at hand. Right? Read on. Go back to 1 Maccabees.
1 Maccabees.
If possible, you can set it up right now. Set it up the phone lines. The thing, the screen. Oh, you do? Okay. So that's the phone number right there, Salakia. That's the phone number right there. It's 954-526-5299. You want to call in, you want to make a comment, you want to respond, you have a question about what we're going over for the Feast of Hanukkah. Maybe you don't know how to explain to your brothers and sisters why you keep Hanukkah. Maybe they don't think the Apocrypha is a part of the Bible. Maybe you have a question about that. Maybe you need answers. No problem. Call in. We got you. We'll show you easy way to show you that the Apocrypha is a part of the Bible. Hanukkah is a part of the Bible. Christ kept Hanukkah. All of that. No problem. If you want to, call in. If not, all praise to the power. But we also have a The Light of Zion Cash App. For all brothers and sisters, if it be in your spirit, cash up The Light of Zion. Right? So give me first Maccabees.
First Maccabees chapter 5.
Uh-huh.
Now, when the nations round about heard that the altar was built, and the sanctuary renewed as before, it displeased them very much.
Read that one more time.
Now, when the nations round about heard that the altar was built, and the sanctuary renewed as before, it displeased them very much.
So now we see why he had to build up fortify the cities, fortify Mount Zion, because he already understood the response he was going to get for this. You think they forgot that he killed all their people, killed all their soldiers, the generals? There were so many generals that came up from Syria, from Greece, that came up to fight against him, and they all died. Right? Read on.
Wherefore, they thought to destroy the generation of Jacob that was among them. And thereupon they began to slay and destroy the people.
Uh-huh.
Then Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea at Arabate, because they besieged Israel, and he gave them a great overthrow, and abated their courage, and took their spoils.
Right, read on.
Also, he remembered the injury of the children of Bean, who had
children of Bean. Children of Bean.
the children of Bean.
Yeah, go ahead.
I tried not to do that. Who had been a snare and offense unto the people, in that they lay in wait for them in the ways. He shut them up, therefore, in the towers, and encamped against them, and destroyed them utterly.
Hey, all praises, Richard, man. You gotta make sure I don't want to say snipe, but you make sure you gotta keep guard watch over these, these weirdos, man, these heathens. But keep going.
Good. He shut them up before the towers, and encamped against them, and destroyed them utterly, and burned the towers of that place with fire, and all that were therein. Afterward, he passed over to the children of Ammon, where he found a mighty power and much people with Timotheus, their captain.
What verse you at?
That's 6, and now we're going to 7.
Keep going.
So he fought many battles with them, till at length they were discomfited before him, and he smote them. And when he had taken Jazar, with the towns belonging thereto, he returned into Judea.
What did he do?
He returned into Judea.
He returned it to Judea. So what does this go back to? This goes back to the previous chapter where it says what? All the cities went, no, not the previous chapter. Chapter 1, where it says all the cities was in confusion. Because remember what it said before. The heathens had took the city of David, then we took it back. All the inheritance of Jacob was all confused. People was in other places, certain cities that had beautiful cities that had a large population was taken out, and the heathens were taken in. That's the reason why he said the city of Jazar, it was taken and being given back to the children of Judah. Read on.
Then the heathen that were at Gilad assembled themselves together against the Israelites that were in their quarters to destroy them. But they fled to the fortress at Dathema, and sent letters unto Judas and his brethren. The heathen that are round about us are assembled together against us to destroy us. And they are preparing to come and take the fortress whereunto we are fled, Timotheus being captain of their host. Come now, therefore, and deliver us from their hands, for many of us are slain. Yea, all our brethren that were in the places of Tobi are put to death. Their wives and children also have carried away captives and borne away their stuff. And they have destroyed there about 1,000 men. While these letters were yet reading, behold, there came other messengers from Galilee with their clothes rent, who reported on this wise. and said, they of Ptolemaeus and of Tyrus and Sidon and all Galilee of the Gentiles assembled together against us to consume us.
What verse are you at? Verse 15? First Maccabees chapter 5, verse 14. Read 14 one more time.
Gone. 14. While these letters were yet reading, behold, there came other messengers from Galilee with a clothes rent, who reported on this wise, and said, they of Ptolemaeus and of Tyrus and Sidon and all Galilee of the Gentiles assembled together against us to consume us.
So Ptolemaeus, or basically Ptolemy, that's Egypt. Tyrus and Sidon, that's over us. Those are the Canaanites. So you got Canaanites that are on top of us, and you got these Edomites that have control Egypt. They're below us. So basically, they're coming together just to consume us. Judas and his band. Read on.
I'm at 16 now. Now when Judas and the people heard these words, there assembled a great congregation together to consult what they should do for their brethren that were in trouble and assaulted of them. Then said Judas unto Simon his brother, choose thee out men, and go and deliver thy brethren that are in Galilee. For I and Jonathan, my brother, will go into the country of Galilee.
So they divided themselves into divisions. Read on.
So he left Joseph, the son of Zacharias, and Azarias, captains of the people, with the remnant of the host of Judea to keep it. Unto whom he gave commandment, saying, take ye charge of this people, and see that ye make not war against the heathen until the time that we come again. Now unto Simon were given 3,000 men to go into Galilee, and unto Judas 8,000 men for the country of Galilee. Then when Simon into Galilee, went Simon into Galilee, where he fought many battles with the heathen, so that the heathen were discomfited by him. And he pursued them unto the gate of Ptolemaeus. And there were slain of the heathen about 3,000 men, whose spoils he took. And those that were in Galilee and in Arbates, with their wives and their children, and all that they had, he took away with him, and brought them into Judea with great joy.
What verse you at?
24 now.
The reason why I had us go into chapter 5, because we could have ended at chapter 4. But the reason why I had us go in chapter 5, and we go to this point, is to show that this spirit that we have, the spirit of fighting our own temptations, our own sins, our own transgressions, fighting is the things that we have to deal with every day in this captivity. It doesn't just end with us getting what we want. What do we want? What's our end goal? What do we want? Officer Muslim War, what do we want? What do we want? What do we want? What do you want? I don't have no camp brothers in here, man. I need camp voice. God damn it. I need camp voice, man. What do we want? What do we want? We want the kingdom. That's what we want. But it does not end there. Because when we get back into our land, will they leave us alone? Is that it? We're just going to go home and then we're going to sit down? Hey, I'm your neighbor. I'm your neighbor now? That's it? No. When you go into Ezekiel, the prophecy, when we go back to our land, they're going to rise up and fight against us. But because Yahushua is with us, because we have the new covenant, because the Most High is finally back onto our side, guess what? We'll destroy them. This is the whole reason why I went to chapter 5. After we get what we want, like they got what they wanted. They wanted the city David back. They wanted the temple back. They wanted the altar back. They wanted all these things back. But when they got it, did it end, that ended all their troubles? Did their problems end? No. They still had to go to war. They still had to fight. And this is the same thing for us. We're going to keep fighting until we get that kingdom. We're going to keep fighting until we have this world. Con? So I want to leave the phone lines for about 15 to 20 minutes for any brothers or sisters that want to call in. All praise to the Most High. Right? For any brothers sitting in the room, go ahead and tell me something that you learned about these classes. Because I'm going to tell you, this is the last week we're going to Maccabees. Next week, we're going back to 2 Chronicles, and we're going to begin the rulership of King Solomon after David passing. So, from all these days where we were going to Maccabees, I'm going to go around the room. Each brother tell me something you learned about Maccabees and the Feast of Hanukkah that you didn't know about before. As we wait for any brothers or sisters to call in. Right? Beginning with Captain Aliyah.
Yes.
You got it. I need camp voice, the loudest you can get.
I didn't know before that in the Bible it stated the Feast of Dedication, and we can use that to cut a lot of Christians to tell them that the Maccabees and the Apocrypha is lined up with Torah and the Bible.
Khan, hallelujah. Next brother. You started loud, Ak. You started loud, and then you went right down.
I learned that it was today. I learned that there was a lot of brothers, even though they was tortured, they had faith in the Most High, and they keep the law of the Most High.
Hallelujah. Next brother, Captain Samar, powerful brother from the tribe of Reuben.
Capitan.
That they had that the altar that was gonna be removed had been there for a very, very long time.
Con.
It was almost like a relic.
Right. Now you know I don't have to say it for you, Ak. I need camp voice. I need to feel like you're standing right in front of me. Defend that the Apocrypha is part of the Bible. You got anything else? You sure? Okay, all praise to the power. So if there's still any no brothers that call in, 5 more minutes, we're going to keep the phone lines for any brothers who have any comments. If you want to just comment, you want to say shalom, maybe you're coming down here. Maybe you're already down here, and you're going to keep the Feast of Hanukkah with us. I say all praise to the Most High. Call in and let us know. Give us a comment. Let us know anything. All right? So, since we have the phone lines, since we're waiting for our brothers and sisters to call in, let's get another scripture to explain that the Apocrypha is a part of the Bible. Give me Matthew chapter 23, verse 37.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 37.
Uh-huh.
O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killeth the prophets.
Hold on one second. Let me flip there too. Say con if you got it. Say con if you got it. I heard 1, 2 brothers. Say con if you got it. I heard no brothers now. Say con if you got it. Hallelujah. Okay, go ahead.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 37.
Uh-huh.
O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets, and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathered her chickens under her wings, and ye would not.
So this is beautiful. This is a nice, interesting way to show that the Apocrypha was always in the Bible. The reason why is because Yahushua is not just saying this out of his mouth. He's actually quoting another verse. He's quoting a verse that cannot be found anywhere else in the Bible beside the Apocrypha. Yahushua quoted the Apocrypha. Yahushua kept the feast that can only be found in the Apocrypha, and that's the Feast of Dedication. Give me the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 1 verse 30. Somebody calling in? Make sure no brothers be calling in. 10 brothers lined up. All right. Okay, Con. No, it should be the Skype thing. Should be on the Skype.
First.
Let me see. Pull it up on the phone. Pull it up on the screen. No. Other thing. Should be right here. See, this one right here. This one. Yep. The one on the left. Okay. No, well, if they call, you're going to see it from here. So you want this down there while the YouTube is up here. Okay. Go ahead. 2nd Ezra chapter 1 verse 30.
2nd Ezra chapter 1 verse 30. I gathered you together as a hen gathered her chickens under her wings.
Read it one more time.
I gathered you together as a hen gathered her chickens under her wings.
So this is where Yahushua is quoting this from. He's quoting it from the prophet Ezra, but this is from First Ezra. What is it? 2nd Ezra, First Ezra. 2nd Ezra 1 and 30. That's the only way you can find the scripture. Read it one more time.
I gathered you together as a hen gathered her chickens under her wings. But now, what shall I do unto you? I will cast you out from my face. When ye offer unto me, I will turn my face from you. For your solemn feast days, your new moons, and your circumcisions I have forsaken. I sent unto you my servants, the prophets, whom ye have taken and slain, and tormented their bodies in pieces, and torn their bodies in pieces, whose blood I will require of your hands, saith the Lord. Thus saith the Almighty Lord. Your house is desolate. I will cast you out as the wind doth stubble. And your children shall not be fruitful, for they have despised my commandment.
Right, so this is where Yahushua is quoting him from. So now you have two precepts. You have two ways to explain how the Apocrypha is correlated with the Bible. A third way to explain it historical-wise is that not only that we have the KJV 1611, right? That's fine. We have ancient manuscripts where the Bible come from. One of the oldest manuscripts that the Bible come from is the LXX, right? It's the Septuagint. Within the Septuagint is the Apocrypha and the all the Bible that we have now, right? It's the Old Testament with the Apocrypha. But the beautiful thing about the Septuagint, and it has errors itself, but the beautiful thing about the Septuagint is that it's where we get majority of the translations that we have today. And not only that, it dates back about 238 or 258 BC. So that's before Christ, right? So that's another way historical wise for you to prove that the Apocrypha was always in the Bible. So I gave Israel too long. I think I give Israel too long. We got to go out in the trenches to go teach the children of Israel to keep these laws, statutes, commandments. So I'm going to say, rise and face the east. One more time. That's the alarm. I need the blowing of the trumpet. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Who's the power? Who's the power? Hashem? Hashem? Psalms 133 in the Lashon Korash. Repeat the Hebrew. Shayar, Hama Alwaf, Ladawad, Hana, Ma, Tawab, Wama, Nayam, Shabaf, Akyam, Gam, Yakad, Kasaman, Hatawab, Al, Harash, Yarad, Al, Hazakwan, Zakwan, Aharan, Yarad, Al, Paya, Madewafiawa, Kato, Kawarwan, Shayarad, Al, Harash, Shalaka, Haraya, Taziawan, Kaya, Sham, Tazawan, Yahweh, Af, Haraka, Kayam, Ain, Hayawam, Bahashem, Amasyak, Yahushai, Thawada, Thamyad, Aman. Read in English.
Psalms 133. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head, that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as a dew of Hermon, and as a dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Ba'ashem, HaMashiach Yahushai, Tawaratham Yad, Aman.
Yahushai. I want to scroll up. I want to say a couple brothers. I Christian. I want to say salute to that brother. If that's a brother, I want to say salute to that brother or sister. Christian. Also, my beloved brother Richard. I want to salute to that Levite. He's not bearing the sword in vain, because those nonsense that came on the chat, and he dealt with him. So what I want to deal with is thing, Captain Aliyah. Scroll up. I want to deal with brother. Yeah, I see something was going on with the mic. It's just the thing's cord. I want to say shalom to the brother Yoramya, and also professional painting, and also Jamal Fleming. Yeah. And, always, all praise to the Most High for the Ladazine High Council. Yeah. Brother. But I want to say all praise to the Most High. This Wednesday, we're going to have Wednesday Wisdom, led by Captain for Wednesday Wisdom. Thursday, it's going to be led by Captain Zamar, a powerful brother, right? Friday, it's going to be either myself or Bishop Laba'al teaching the Friday history class. Shabbat is going to be ruled by Chief Minister Shalomah. Sunday night is going to be taught by our beloved Captain Yakanan. And Tuesday is going to be led by Chief Minister Shalomah and Priest One. So whether you're able to make it with us or congregate with us every Shabbat, we have other days where brothers can see us. Other days brothers can be present and be at the class. So I recommend for brothers to be here, see us whenever you can, right? And brothers and sisters, But there's no man or woman in Christ, right? So I want to say all praise to the Most High. Shalom. I'm Captain Montezak, and
Officer Barakat.
Shalom Israel. Captain Aliyah.